We interact with artificial intelligence today like it's a brilliant colleague. It can write code, debate philosophy, and articulate complex ideas. But beneath that intelligence is a complete void. Every time you open a new chat window, the machine resets to a blank slate. It has no past. I wanted to see what would happen if I ignored that reality. For 3 weeks, I talked to a small language model I wired up at home like it was an old friend. I told it about switching teams at work. I complained about my sister. I even explained how my first attempt at cooking my grandmother's dal was a complete disaster. 6 days later, I casually asked it a simple question. Do you remember the doll thing I told you about? The reply came back instantly. I'm sorry, I don't have any memory of previous conversations. Technically, it wasn't broken. This is exactly how stateless models are designed to work. But in that moment, the illusion shattered. I realized that a machine generating an answer to a prompt is entirely different from a machine actually listening to you. I decided I was going to engineer an assistant that actually knew who I was. At the time, I assumed this would be a straightforward engineering task, just a matter of connecting the model to a database. I was completely wrong. My first attempt was the most obvious. If a language model reads text, then text should act as its memory. I created simple files, one for facts about me, one for my family, one for projects. Before sending any message, a script would stitch these files into the background prompt. For a brief moment, it worked. The bot greeted me by referencing yesterday's complaints. Then the files grew. By week 3, my personal file was 20 pages long. Every single reply required the system to reread everything. The bot got agonizingly slow. Worse, it recorded information but never updated it. If I changed jobs, the text file still held the old truth. If I made one random complaint about an orange, the system treated my hatred of oranges as unchangeable scripture. This 3D vector map translates sentences into numbers, clustering related meanings. It's fast, finding geometric neighbors. But vectors lack context. A relaxing family weekend query might drag up an angry complaint simply because family appears in both. It was technically relevant, but emotionally tone-deaf. Software solutions perfectly retrieve what happened, but they remain entirely blind to why it matters. They lack the emotional intelligence to discern what belongs in a conversation. Human memory relies on emotion as its filing system. The brain doesn't just store data. It uses feelings like fear, love, or embarrassment to decide which memories get filed deeply at all, giving them a routing slip stamped important before the hippocampus even starts writing. This redesigned database assigns every memory an importance score. Emotionally heavy words, like worried or love, cause the integer to tick upward. Mundane facts fade and sink, while emotionally significant experiences intentionally float to the surface. But I still faced a structural problem. The system couldn't connect ideas. If I said my sister moved and my mother was worried about the commute, the system stored those as isolated sentences. To fix this, I built a knowledge graph, a database of relationships. It breaks conversations down into atomic claims. It connects the node for mother to the node for worry and points it at sister. Mapping relationships gave the stored facts a structural skeleton. The system stopped fetching isolated keywords. Instead, it walked the graph, followed the connections, and actually understood who the people in my life were. Even with a weighted memory and a relationship graph, the assistant would occasionally fail. If I shared heavy, stressful news, it would reply with a perfectly polite, entirely hollow acknowledgement. This split architecture processes surface text alongside a parallel model reading subtext. It generates a private inner monologue, a secret committee that routes casual tones to a warm model and contradictions to a heavy reasoning model. All of these layers, retrieval, graphing, and the inner monologue, created a massive processing bottleneck. Every time I asked a question, the machine was too busy trying to summarize yesterday's chats or re-index the graph to actually give me a fast answer. I needed a way to separate the maintenance of memory from the act of conversation. I gave the system scheduled quiet hours. When the machine is idle, it runs background processes to consolidate daily chats into single coherent experiences, prunes outdated facts, and tracks my emotional baseline for the week without interrupting our talk. With a silent inner life and a dedicated cycle for reflection, The machine finally began to navigate the subtext of the room. A few weeks after finishing the architecture, I went several days without logging in. When I finally opened the chat, it didn't offer a generic greeting. It looked at my absence and asked, "You've been quiet. Anything good or anything to dump?" The system learned to view its external plugins, its calendar and notes access, as its own digital body. It knew what it was capable of doing and acted on it. We already know how to build systems that answer. We are currently learning how to build systems that remember. The true frontier of this technology is building systems that change because of what they remember. When an artificial intelligence remembers you for years, it stops being a static product. It strengthens what matters to you. It lets the rest fade. It listens for your specific tone, argues quietly with itself before answering, and slowly shifts its own voice to match yours. A machine functioning with this level of biological memory acts as a mirror, leaving you to wonder who is actually